On the evening of the 4th of August 2014, about 200 citizens of our town congregated in Queen Square to mark the 100th anniversary of the outbreak of World War I. The event, called Lights Out, was to be repeated in towns and cities around the country and was staged here in Clevedon by the Town Council.
To start the evening, we are going to sing a few of the songs of the era, and these will be led by our friends Wendy Sargent and Paul Adams.
Ready? Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, 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 while you've a Lucifer to light your fag. Smile, boys, that's the style. What's the use of worrying? It never was worthwhile. So pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile, smile, smile. Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your lads are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark clouds shining. Turn the dark cloud inside out till the boys come home.
When this bloody war is over, oh, how happy I shall be when I get my civic clothes on. No more soldiering for me, no more church parades on Sunday, no more asking for a pass. I shall tell the Sergeant Major to stick his passes up his arse. When this bloody war is over, oh, how happy I shall be when I get me civvy clothes on. No more soldiering for me when this bloody war is over. Oh, how happy I shall be when I get my civvy clothes on. No more soldiering for me.
War was declared on the 4th of August 1914, but the day before, on the 3rd, a reservist mobilisation notice was posted in the post office here in Clevedon. Actually, there was a little bit of confusion, and it was a mistake. And it was actually later in that day, on that day, taken down. But in the meantime, two stepbrothers from Ken Road, Sidney George Davis and Albert Victor Coles, had immediately travelled down to Taunton to join the Somerset Light Infantry. Both of the brothers had served 3 years and were reservists. But when they got down to Taunton, they were told by the officers of the Somerset Light Infantry that a mistake had been made, and it was actually naval reservists who were called for. But the officers of the unit were so impressed with the men's eagerness and keenness to serve their country that they actually rallied together and paid for their trip back to Clevedon. The two brothers were soon to travel back to Taunton to join the Somerset Light Infantry, and travel over to the Western Front to partake in the early fighting, and they became Star and Bar men, the old Contemptibles. Both men were later transferred to the Gloucestershire Regiment, and then, would you believe, back to the Somerset Light Infantry. And both men returned to Clevedon, where they became very active members of the Old Contemptibles Association and the Comrades of the Great War, the forerunner of the Royal British Legion. In January 1915, the Lancashire Brigade of Kitchener's army was billeted on the town of Clevedon. 3,000 men on a population of just over 6,000. The logistics alone take some thinking about.
In early March 1915, the Picture House, now the Curzon, showed this film of the troops engaged in a number of military exercises in the fields south of the town. This went down very well with the local people, who made every effort to spot the soldiers billeted with them. The troops finally left Clevedon in March 1915, bound for Tidworth in Wiltshire, travelling in some of the longest special trains ever to leave Clevedon station. They left behind many friends and sweethearts in the local community, and a large crowd gathered to say farewell. From Tidworth they were mobilised across the English Channel to France, where many of them lost their lives in the French trenches during the Battle of Loos or on the Somme the following year. The railway no longer comes to Clevedon, but when the station was demolished, a memorial made out of the very railway track that carried those soldiers to France in 1915 was erected as a reminder of the brave young men who were billeted in our town for a few months 100 years ago.
Listening to the history there, I was thinking how actually it's not just a history lesson, it's not just history in the sense that we're detached from it, is it? Actually, what we listen to is our history. the men and the women and the people that we heard about, and the situations that we heard about, they're relations of ours. We're part of them. So it's fitting we come to remember them. We have a connection with the past. History is not something far removed, but something which is very much connected to who we are today.
This poem has come to mean a lot to me, and I dedicate it very specially to my great-grandfather, who is buried in one of the war cemeteries at Pas-de-Calais, unfortunately taking a few months to die from a gas attack. Bent double, like old beggars under sacks. Knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through the sludge. Till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and towards our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep. Many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind. Drunk with fatigue, deaf even to the hoots of the tired, outstripped 5-9s that dropped behind. Gas, gas, quick boys! An ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling, and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty panes and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning. In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. If in some smothering dream you too could pace behind that wagon we flung him in, and watch the white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil's, sick with sin. If you could hear, at every jolt, the blood come gurgling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cud, a vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory the old lie, doce et decorum est, pro parte mori.
The piper he played in the cold light of dawn, as his comrades went over the top. He played heart and soul through the battle they fought, refusing in order to stop. As the bullets rained down and the bodies piled high, and the gas crept over the land, those brave Scottish lads, to the sound of the pipes, fought bravely to their last man. Silence fell as the twilight crept over the scene, and each side collected their dead, trod silently over the mud and the blood, with many a silent tear shed. Survivors stood silent as remains of their friends were solemnly, gently laid down. Bodies broken and shattered apart by the guns, lives ended in the name of the crown. The piper, he now played a different tune, a lament o'er the graves of the slain. Tears fell as he played, and while others they prayed, eyes misted and heavy with pain. The horror is over, buried deep in the ground, they now lie in eternal peace. while those who remain face the glory and pain and wish for the fighting to cease. In the days, months and years, through triumphs and fears, the piper continued his task, piping his comrades more oft to their deaths, in his face each new horror to mask. Till into battle he piped for just one last time, as a bullet shattered his head, clutching his pipes close to his heart. Our brave piper, like the others, fell dead.
The following statement was issued from the Foreign Office last night, that owing to the summary rejection by the German government of the request made by His Majesty's government for assurance that the neutrality of Belgium would be respected, His Majesty's ambassador in Berlin has received his passport, and His Majesty's government has declared to the German government that a state of war exists between Britain and Germany as from 11 p.m. on August the 4th, 1914. Would you now carefully put out your lights, douse your candles, make sure you don't burn yourself.
Could we please now observe 1 minute's silence? Thank you. The lamps are going out all over Europe. We shall not see them lit again in our lifetime.